Let's go pitch fishing. Pitch fishing refers, in case you're unfamiliar with it, to a technique whereby thereminists basically hunt and peck for a pitch they want to sound out as discreetly as possible, hopefully as inaudibly as possible to any spectators that might be listening. It's basically sliding around very quietly to find a pitch that you need. Pitch fishing is used most commonly in three instances. The first instance is to find your starting note for any given piece. You just want to come in on the right note. The second is during intervals where the theremin is silent, where you're waiting to come back in again during any given piece. You're going to have to come in on another starting note, essentially, and so you can use the pitch fishing techniques to come in on that note. And third, which requires a little bit more practice, and you will get there as you practice pitch fishing, you can find that the intervals become shorter and shorter and shorter. You can do it within a note or two. In case you really need to be able to use that technique, as you become more adept at it, you will be able to use shorter and shorter intervals. Those are the three instances. In order to practice pitch fishing and use it as an advantage, rather than a form of cheating, as it's sometimes thought of, or even sometimes thought of as a lack of skill, all thereminists do it. It's just a question of what they do with it and how discreetly they use it. Even Clara Rockmore used it occasionally. You can hear it on some of the tapes. But the main thing is that the rethink involves in using it to our advantage. That's what's important. Use it to your advantage. Now you can go any distance between pitches completely legitimately just by using the slide that we talked about from earlier chapters. And within the context of a song, the slide may be perfect. So you use it. But sometimes you want to do it without a slide. In order to practice pitch fishing, the first thing to do is to get used to the idea of imperceptibly audible, almost as close to silence as you can get when you're talking about playing a note. And for that, use nothing in the way of accompaniment, just use the theremin. Find the threshold between silence and noise, and see how quietly you can play a note and still hear it. Can you hear that? I'm sure you can. There's the note. Let's listen again. Can you hear it? Probably. Did you hear that? Probably not. I was still able to hear it through the amplifier. And that's the level that we're talking about. The most comfortable interval to use is our old favorite, the octave, because it's separated enough that you are going to have to hunt to find that pitch. So if we take a note and want to go an octave higher. Now, let's use the pitch fishing method to try to quietly find that note, as quietly as possible. So here's our starting note. Turn it off. Now put your hand where you think that note's going to be, and then slowly Did you hear anything? I actually landed about 3 notes higher than that octave and corrected down till I found that note. Did you hear it? It's difficult to say whether the camera picked that up or not. Let's do it again. I missed. Why? Because I was unable to hear anything. It was so quiet that if there was anything, just beyond my perception. So let's try again. Did you hear anything? Difficult to say whether the camera picked that up. Once you've practiced an octave enough, then we jump 2 octaves. But the main thing is this. In order for you to really be able to hear whether you're succeeding, record what you're doing and see if the camera picks up your sliding. See if the audio recorder that you're using picks up the slide. If it does, chances are a spectator will. If it fails to register that slide or that hunt and peck, you're probably succeeding. So go from 1 octave jumping to 2 octave jumping. place your hand where you think it's going to be and then search. Quietly. I heard that. I heard that too, did you? That's basically the gist of it. Now we're doing it out of the context of a song so that you can train your ear, so that you can really hear it under optimum conditions, what playing that quietly sounds like. But the minute you add music to it, it's a whole new situation, because you now have all kinds of external music coming at you, and you've still got to try to quietly hear the note you want. That takes more practice. And since you need to do it with songs that you want to play, there's really no point in demonstrating other than to show you a couple of extreme examples. And then you're on your own. Make sure you record what you're playing so that you can hear if you're succeeding. Record it under the conditions of nothing being there except your own playing, and under the conditions of having some accompaniment. You can also try an exercise where you can use in the quiet to hit a keyboard with one note, hit a keyboard, another note, and then go between these intervals using the pitch fishing method. Either way, it just takes practice before you can get really discreet with it. So we'll end with just a couple of quick examples in the context of a song. Here are two brief examples of pitch fishing, and they're rather extreme. In the first one, we're talking about very, very wide intervals where you're starting low or high and having to jump well over an octave, sometimes almost 2 octaves, in order to get the next note. And in the second example, we're talking about intervals that may be closer together but are also happening in more rapid succession than the ones you're going to hear. The signs to look for when you're looking for me pitch fishing is to watch me stop and then reposition my hand. You'll know that I'm doing it, but see if you can actually hear the sound of that pitch that's almost inaudible. Here we go. And the second piece. Now, try it with songs you want to play. Try to sneak around. Did you hear me pitch fishing? Watch the videos again for these last 2 pieces. See if you can hear it. I know I did. The question is, can you as a spectator? That's why it's so important to record yourself doing this, so that you can play it back and hear if you can hear what you were hearing.